It's clearly inspired by shows like The Twilight Zone or Tales of the Unexpected, but where they would use the supernatural to make something unusual happen, we use technology. We, in a rather somewhat pretentious way, like to imagine that we're curating a little film festival, if you see what I mean, because each one has to be different and fairly idiosyncratic.
That was Charlie Brooker, the showrunner, writer, and certified sociopath behind Black Mirror. This dystopian sci-fi series is infamous for its dark, controversial subject matter, ranging from killer robots to government officials being blackmailed into having sex with farmyard animals. It's really good, I promise. Something that's always fascinated me about Black Mirror is that it's an anthology series, a format we see very little of these days. I found a long list of anthology series and used my nerd powers to make this graph. If you look very closely, you can see it goes down. This television format was very popular in the 50s. It allowed studios to crank out 30-minute melodramas without much narrative effort. But Black Mirror is regarded by cinephiles as some of the best narrative content on television. So what makes it better? What makes it Black Mirror and not 1953's Revlon Mirror Theatre? I think this has to do with how it creates its own world. Specifically, how it uses genre to build a consistent universe. Now, I'm not talking about a Marvel Cinematic Universe, where Captain Capitalism can make a quippy cameo in 5 other movies. I'm talking about a more subtle universe, one based on theme and subject matter. There are 2 big hurdles Black Mirror has to overcome being a sci-fi anthology series. Firstly, sci-fi usually requires a lot of time and a lot of exposition.
Contained within discrete boundaries by an outer covering of silicates, actinides, and carbonaceous chondrites.
Secondly, without a consistent cast of characters, it's a lot harder for the audience to grow attached and keep coming back. The solution? They make their own consistency. They use technology as a recurring character, as a villain, friend, or guide. Black Mirror isn't a showcase of cool technology, it's a showcase of cool stories. They wear their sci-fi label with pride and use incredible writing to totally subvert any conventions. This allows them to place the viewer in any futuristic alternate universe without worrying about having to explain 400 years of history in that region. This consistently unfamiliar setting becomes a tool in itself. But what happens when the setting is familiar? Hello?
Nathan, hi, it's James Watkins here.
I managed to pester enough people into organizing a 10-minute interview with James Watkins, the director of my favorite episode of Black Mirror, Shut Up and Dance. This episode is one of the few that are tangibly set in the present day. I'd love to know what you think it is about Shut Up and Dance that keeps it within the Black Mirror canon, the world, without some of the flashier sci-fi elements of the other episodes.
Yeah, it's always, there's that dystopian element to Black Mirror, but it's also about the dark edge of technology. It was quite ripped from the headlines, and you see people putting blue tack on their thick covering over their camera and all of that. So it just felt incredibly relatable, and then it sort of...
What my new best friend James Watkins is saying here is that Black Mirror finds its identity through its themes and atmosphere, all of which is built through effective use of genre. But more importantly, he speaks about its relatability, its closeness to our world despite the sci-fi magic.
It's finally about people and not finally about science.
The scholarly academic question here would be, how does Black Mirror utilize sci-fi conventions to build a consistent world and tone in this essay? But if I'm being honest, all I'm really interested in is how it makes me feel. At the end of the day, cinema and television are emotional enterprises. What's most fascinating is not the way genre convention is used technically, but that it's used effectively to make me feel happy, heartbroken, awestruck, nostalgic, and terrified.